Welcome to another edition of the Tech Woke Podcast. I am your host, Chris. I am an RMS special in the federal government space. In today's podcast, we have a great guest. We met back on another podcast called Textual Chatter. We always wanted to do the podcast, but life be lifing. So we're going to introduce a guest today. Her name is Diondria Brown. She's a senior solutions engineer. She's an AI and digital transformation strategist. She's also a public speaker and also a channel partner and ecosystem leader. And without further ado, here's our guest, DeAndrea. How you doing today?
Thanks so much. That was an amazing intro. I feel like when Shannon Sharp be introducing people. That was really good. But I am great. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for doing this virtual. I know you're typically in person, but I'm far away. So thanks for making the exception for me. And I'm super excited for our conversation today.
Now, I'm really excited too. You know, we've been talking for a while now. We've been talking for a long time. You know, just learning. I've been learning a lot from you. You've been learning a lot from me. And then we just kind of been, just telling me different things. And of course, I want to come down to Houston one of these days so we can, link up and, build some stuff out there. So I appreciate you for, just help pouring into me over these last, almost a year, to be honest, which would have been like a year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so funny because we actually met because you were recording a podcast and I was recording a podcast directly after you, and we were on the same platform. We actually did kind of like a crossover episode segment together. So that was last year in August. So yeah, it's really been a good time. So I'm excited that we actually were able to bring this to fruition because that was one of those first conversations that we had and connected on, that you also had a podcast and I would love to be a guest. So here we are.
I got you. And just like, this is early. I know it's early in the morning. How's your morning going?
It just started.
Okay.
I'm here. Listen, I am here and I'm ready. That's all I can say. The morning, it just started.
Okay, understood. So we're going to go into it. I'm going to start going into the podcast. So what I usually ask the guests, I'm like, okay, just tell me about your early life in high school. Was you into tech? What was you doing? Just tell me about yourself.
So early life in high school, I was not into tech. I've always been very serious though. Like I always been a lover of learning. Initially, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to college, and I went to school. It ended up in social work. So I actually went to college and I got my bachelor's in social work, and I did that for a few years. And I realized early on that wasn't something for me, just because of the nature of the work. And like I said, I'm a really avid learner. So at that point, I decided like, I feel like I want to go back to school because I wanted to do more with myself. So yeah, early on, I was not into tech. I was figuring my life out and what I wanted to do. I didn't even know what tech was, to be honest.
I understand. Most people don't until you actually get into it. Also, my mother was a social worker, so I understand like with that job, there's a lot that goes into it. It depends if you're dealing with older people, kids, prisons, and it's a lot of stuff you're going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't talk about, and it can weigh down on you. Is that some of the things you experienced while you was doing the role?
Yeah, I definitely feel like there was a lot of secondhand trauma. Candidly, I work for Child Protective Services. So I was 22. I was a baby with no babies, taking babies. I always tell people that. And I always would tell myself, at the end of every day, like if I can do this job, I can do anything in the world. So I would never regret my experience. I would never regret my decision. I made a big impact in a lot of children and other families' lives. But it was definitely rough. Like I said, I was young doing that. And I was dealing with people double my age, my parents' age, older than that, or my age, you know what I'm saying, or even younger. So it was definitely something that made an impact on me as a person. And just going into my career, I definitely feel like I approach a lot of things with empathy or just a different lens than other people do. But it definitely it took a toll on me for sure, especially being a youngin'.
Yeah, and trust me. I 100% understand that because I've been there. So my mother told me all these stories. It can really be hard. And I think at some point she just stopped doing the role. You know, it was too. And it also helps you with talking to people, because I noticed you're a very good communicator. You're very good with adapting to a lot of people. So at least from that role, you at least got those skills, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you learn the art of negotiation. That was something that I learned. You know what I'm saying? You learn how to resolve conflicts, how to de-escalate situations. You know what I'm saying? How to explain things to people in tough situations, have tough conversations. You know what I'm saying? But also be able to do it with empathy and grace. And I feel like that's something that I continue to do throughout my career and, you know, just throughout my life period. So I definitely feel like that was one of those stepping stones to growing in those ways for sure.
Okay, so you're in this role. You're like, I can't do this no more. I want to transition to something else. So I was looking at your resume and looking on LinkedIn. So you transitioned into a tech role. That was your first tech role. How did
So,
I,
so actually, I actually transitioned to a school role. I ended up leaving Child Protective Services and I went to work at a dropout recovery school. So it's basically for anybody 18 and older that wanted to get a high school diploma instead of a GED. So I transitioned to that role. And while I was there, it afforded me the opportunity to go back and get my master's degree. So I kind of did that for some time. But I also ended up getting a second job, which was Apple. And that was my first introduction into tech. So I was working a few threads at one time. So I was working at the school. I was getting my master's. I decided to go back and do it in business administration. Like I said, I'm a lover of learning, and I felt like that was going to be something that I could use my business acumen and I could learn more just going into that field. And then I ended up just landing a part-time role, just doing weekends. Because of course, you know, you ain't making no money. You're making no money. You know, I was young in my career, so I wasn't making no money. So I was like, I got to get another part-time job. But it led to so many things. So I'm so grateful that I did have that, you know, that grind in me to, you know, go and get that second job.
yeah, I love that. So you went to the school, you got you got your master. Was it business in business?
Yeah.
And do you think that helped you throughout your career with your master's?
So I would say yes and no. To be honest, I wouldn't even really say to this point that it has done so much for me just because of the way things actually played out with me getting into tech. Right. So when I was working at Apple, I was finishing up my MBA. And there was a guy there that said he was leaving. He was like, oh, you know, it was one of those people that I seen all the time. I talk to all the time. He was like, yeah, my last day is next week. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, where are you going? And he told me the company that he was going to. And I was finishing up my MBA. So, of course, I was looking for what I was going to do next. Right. And I just started applying to every job on that company website. I just put it in my Glassdoor alerts. You know, on Glassdoor, we used to be on Glassdoor back in the day. And I just put all the, you know, the company in my alerts and I just kept applying for all of the jobs. But the job that I actually landed, I did not need an MBA for. A lot of the people who started with me, so essentially I was in an associate cohort. So, you know, it's kind of like a junior level or whatever. We had to do a 6-month training. But the people that I was in the cohort with graduated with their undergrads in May. And I graduated with my MBA in May. You know what I'm saying? So I can't necessarily say like it had afforded me so much. I mean, obviously, being Black and being a woman, I hope that it's something that is helping me. But you know what I'm saying? In comparison to my peers that I started with, I was like, wow, you know, I was, you know, a degree ahead of them and we all kind of started in the same place. But I'm grateful. I had a great time and I learned a lot with them and from them, and we grew up together.
No, I love that. So, okay, so even with me, I got my master's. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be honest with you. My certifications is what got me the job. I will
Okay.
say, like having a master's helped get me get paid, like get paid like later on in my career. So you never know. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. I did want to go back before you go in deep dive into your career and the solutions. Um, I just wanted to go back to like when you was at Apple and you was working in tech. Can you kind of talk about your day-to-day life when you was learning that stuff? Because again, you was telling me that you was new to tech completely. Can you just tell what you was learning, what you did at that role?
So, when I worked at Apple, I actually ended up in a Genius Bar, which I am so grateful for because, again, like I said, I'm a lover of learning. So I ended up in a Genius Bar, and I mean, I was doing a lot of troubleshooting, right? Like, so people will come in with their phones, different issues, different bugs, updates, alerts, computers, anything that you have that's an Apple product that you would have an issue with. I was the person, the front line person that would be helping you to initially resolve that issue. And then if we had to take it a step further, I would pass it off to another team. So it was like the frontline work, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I learned a lot about technology when I was at my job at Apple. And that's what I would say got me my first tech role was the fact that I worked at Apple. And I would always laugh because I'm like, I'm just in the genius mode. You know what I'm saying? But hindsight 2020, I did learn a lot, you know what I'm saying, about technology. I did learn a lot about the cloud. I learned a lot about all of those things prior to, you know, what ended up happening in terms of my career in the actual cloud boom. So it was a good, I guess, like foreshadowing for what was coming next for me.
Yeah, because like I'm seeing your career, it seemed like God had a pathway for you because every skill that you learned was always adapting to communication, people. Working at the Genius Bar, you're talking to all
Yeah,
people from literally all the whole world, right?
mad people. And when I
Yeah.
say mad, I mean that in two ways. I mean like a lot, and I also mean like angry, mad. So again, that conflict resolution, that de-escalation, you know what I'm saying? Like when you don't have a warranty and now it's $1,000, or you thought you had your stuff saved and everything is gone and there's nothing I can do about it. You know what I'm saying? Like those were a lot of the things that you just deal with when you work in customer service or you work in that type of customer facing role. So yeah, I definitely would say the things that I did prior to help me to be more successful in that role because I had a foundation of resolving big conflicts. So a phone was like, okay, we can figure this out, guys, or figuring out how to help you out. Yeah.
No, I feel you on that one. And then you learning about the OS, you're learning about cloud, you're probably learning about syncing, you're learning about so many stuff. So
Yeah.
you can talk to anything at that point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I feel like, and Apple did a really great job. I guess, yeah, Apple did a really great job of preparing us with knowledge. They did a really great job each shift. If there was anything new, anything that we needed to know, any type of training, like it was always in depth, it was always intentional, and it was always very informational. So we always had the resources available. I would say that that was something that has also helped me. It was one of those skills that now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that's something that I use all the time. And just being resourceful and just finding the information. It may not always be directly in front of you, but like finding ways to find the information, um, finding workarounds, finding loopholes, things like that, and learning consistently. Like that was just what it was. As you know, I mean, there's always a new OS, there's always a new feature, there's always a new phone, there's always something coming out. So you had to just be comfortable with learning consistently.
Now I love
For
that, and
sure.
that's the whole thing about tech. You got to learn consistently. I'm sorry, that's the DC education. But yeah, you got to learn consistently over time to make sure you're adapting around your research. And it just I see like how the progression. So can you talk about okay, you applied for this role. Your coworker helped you get this role as a solutions consulting. Can you explain how you got that position and kind of explain a little bit how
Oh Lord. So this is so funny because I went out for the role. Again, I was applying to every role on the website. This was 2019. So in 2019, the cloud and all of this stuff that is extremely familiar to us right now was not at that time, and it was brewing. It wasn't not something that was common in a lot of companies. were not in the cloud, and a lot of, you know what I'm saying, people didn't know and understand the cloud. So to be honest, I didn't even know what job I was going to interview for. I didn't know what contact center was. It was a contact center role. Like a lot of people still don't know what the concept of contact center is, but there wasn't just a lot of information. There was not a chat GPT that I could be like, break this down as if I was a 7-year-old and tell me what this stuff means. You know what I'm saying? So I just did as much research as I could, still went in blind, didn't know what I was going to do. And I did the interview, and I actually did not get the role. I didn't get the role. Okay. I did not get the role. And I was like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just super excited. I thought, you know, I had went in person. I did a presentation. I thought I did so well. And the guy that interviewed me when I was leaving, you know, he was just like, you did a really good job. Like, you know, what do you feel like will set you apart? I did my little spiel. And when I heard back, I didn't get it. So I just ended up connecting with him on LinkedIn. And I just hit him up and I was like, hey, you know I didn't get the opportunity, but if there are any opportunities in the future, you know, please let me know. Please, you know, put my name in a room. And a month later, I had traveled to Miami and I was coming back home, and I just randomly got a call. You know, I randomly got a call from them, and they was just like, hey, we just want to let you know, like, we added some more positions to this same cohort. You know, X, Y, and Z put in a name. He put your name in. We want you to talk with these 2 managers. This is really just a formality. It's not an interview. He just wants you to have a conversation. They just want to get to know you before you're onboarded. So that was how it happened. Like, rejection led to redirection. But honestly, hindsight again, 2020, the role that I originally was applying for was in office. And I would have had to be there. Whereas the second role that they came with was remote, and it was like 50 or 75% travel. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to travel for work. The first role was in office and really wasn't any travel. So I really wanted, you know what I'm saying, the second role. I mean, obviously I didn't even know that it existed or what it was. I still am going through this process and don't know what this job is. I just know now I got this job. But yeah, I definitely was rejected the first time, and I didn't make it. I didn't make the cut, but they did a second round and they pulled me in.
And that's what I always tell with people. Like, people always want to burn bridges with people. Oh, you didn't get me, I'm gonna leave it alone. I love that how you did. You went on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a good source, as we both know. You connected with that person, told them, hey, if anything open, let me know. And then you followed up with him, and he followed that back up with you. And I'm, you know, and from dealing with you over and all, you always good at following up, keeping in contact with people, and just, you know, you're really good at that skill. So what would you think? So networking with people, do you think that's one of the best things to do, even if you don't get opportunity?
I mean, yeah, I definitely feel like staying in communication is a good thing to do, because I mean, just because that opportunity wasn't for you doesn't mean that there won't be a future opportunity, or that's not the only thing that you can gain from a relationship with someone. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, we may never work together. But again, just similarly to, you know, the relationship that we've built, it's just like there are things that I can learn from you and there are things that you can learn from me. So it's always better to keep, you know, the door open, for sure. So I definitely would say that you should always try to stay connected and just keep the lifeline, you know, keep the lifeline going.
Yeah, and I love that, because like, even for me, like, I learned a lot from you, especially when it comes to networking and dealing with things in the office. So I've learned a lot. Trust me and believe, I've learned, even if it's not directly, indirectly, or just watching how people do things, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So okay, so you got this role, you wanted this role, you prayed for it, you got a remote role, you're in this role as a solution consultant. Can you kind of explain what a solutions consultant is? Because a lot of the audience don't know what that is.
So solution consultant can also be interchangeable with the term solution engineer. I feel like in every industry, they call every role anything under the book. But essentially, this is a person that's in the pre-sales process. For me, the company that I worked for, we built software. So I was the person that the sales rep would bring in to handle technical questions. I was the person that did the technical demonstration to showcase the product to the customer. So to show them the art of the possible, I would do discovery with them and find out, you get what I'm saying? Like, what were their pain points? What issues are you having? Like, how did we get here today? And based on that information, I would build out basically a new website for them, or a new, just like a demonstration to show them like, this is what your new customer experience could be, opposed to what you guys already have. You know, a lot of people have outdated, you work in the government, so a lot of people have outdated and disjointed systems, you know what I'm saying? So if I would do things like go on their website and I would go through the experience to see what their customers were experiencing. I would call into their companies to see, you know, if I was a customer, when do I get frustrated? How do I get to this place? And then I would build something out so that they could see how this could be way more customer friendly, customer experience friendly, how people could chat with them and text them, and not everybody has to call in, or how we could help their website to be navigated better so that we could, you know, alleviate some of those redundant questions that would be coming in all the time. So a solution consultant is that, I would say, he is a person in the process that helps to handle the technical conversations with the customers. And honestly, we are like a trusted resource. So when we come in with facts, and we come in with solutions. So
Okay, that's a lot to go with. So let me just put it in my brain. Do you have you have a regular salesperson that will go out and go get the sale, right? And then the solutions is kind of like you're kind of talking to the customer to see how this can help them. Is that how I'm going?
yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to give away too much because I was about to go into direct scenarios. But yeah, so sales rep will go out, you know, their job is to find business, right? So they would come and say, hey, Chris, we see that you're looking for new tires, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just put it in terms of tires, right? So they would say, Chris, we see you looking for new tires. Come down here on Saturday, and I'm gonna bring Diondria, and she's gonna show you, you get what I'm saying, the best tires and everything like that. So what my job would be is to be like, okay, do some research on you. Okay, this is the kind of car he has. These are the kind of tires he has, and this is how long he's had them. So I know what you have now. So my job is to go in and find the best tires for you because you live in DC, you drive this much, you might be in construction areas. And then when you come in, I'm going to show you all of the things that are going wrong or that have went wrong with your tires, and how these tires that I have are the better solution for you, right? So I'm going to do different demonstrations. So maybe I'm running over a glass bottle. Maybe I'm running over nails. Maybe I'm poking the side. Like, you get what I'm saying? I am the person who actually shows you how this works. And you ask me questions like, okay, well, how many miles does it get? How, you know what I'm saying? Like, are they run flats? Okay, if they are run flats, what does that mean? How long can I drive on them before they get to my rim? So that is more or less like the solution consulting piece of it. I am the person that is basically going to bring this idea or this concept into fruition. You're going to be able to see it at work. You can ask questions. I can show you, you get what I'm saying, the inside of tires. I can pull behind the hood, and you can really, you get what I'm saying, feel reassured that your needs are going to be met. Or if you have additional needs that I don't know about, we can discuss them there and also talk about other options that we have and kind of like make the best solution for you as a customer.
Okay, I get it now. So I understand it now. So now it ties into what a solution engineer is. So I kind of get it now. And I'm sure the audience gets it now. So can you tell me, like, what's the day-to-day life as a solution engineer?
It varies for a lot of different people. So I would say for me, a lot of the conversations were demos. Like, I would be doing different demos to customers. So again, just working different deals with my sales reps, doing research. I mean, because again, this is technology, right? A lot of the customers have different, what we would call as use cases, which are different, I would just say like sets of, how would I describe a use case? I would say it's just like a different set of like characteristics that a lot of their different customers do, right? So a use case could be a customer needing to change a password. That's a use case, right? So I would have to be researching different ways to solve these use cases, or maybe this customer wants the passwords to be reset online. Maybe this customer wants that to be something that a customer can do when they call in. Maybe that's something they want to be built into their FAQs. So there were just, or a bot or anything like that. So it was a lot of just like research, answering technical questions, working with the sales teams, following the deals, doing discovery to understand the customer's issues and how we could solve those issues on a day-to-day basis. So I would say it was learning, it was demoing, it was talking to customers, it was working with sales reps, and then also in person, whether it was in person with a customer, it was what we would call as enablement, which is basically teaching. Whether it was teaching our partners about our product or going to a different like road show, traveling, and doing public speaking or speaking on stage with our competitors to talk about our products and how they differentiate, things like that. So I would love to say that every day was similar, but it was never the same. It just depends on the, just where you were you traveling this week? Were you heads down in demos this week? Did a new product come out that you need to research? And then a lot of the role was learning and testing out new features and functionality, and challenging yourself to go outside the box. Because again, all of our customers, we have customers that have 5 people in their contact center, and then we have customers with 2,500, right? We had some of the biggest companies, Fortune 500 companies. So their requests or their websites were much more intricate, and it was much more proactive, and it used a lot more technology and AI. So you just had to always be shoring yourself up on like the new features that were out and playing with them, getting your hands dirty, because you had to be essentially a jack of all trades and a master of none. So that was a lot of it too, just learning and playing around in sandboxes for sure.
No, I love it. And then, the more stuff a company has, it's more money. So
yeah, for
it's
sure.
a good thing. Even in my role, like, it's not like a set things just happen. So you just kind of do it. I did want to segue into, like, if somebody was trying to look for this role, there's different names for it. Like even for me, I'm an RMF specialist. Like, it could be ISO, it can be cyber engineer, it can be this, it can be that. Like, what if somebody's looking for this role? What would they look for? Like, what we
I would say anything that says solution engineer, solution consultant, sales engineer, pre-sales engineer. Those are kind of like the bigger umbrellas, I would say. That's what most people would categorize this role under. So you're essentially typically a part of the pre-sales process. So again, the sales rep goes out and finds the sale, and then you help to facilitate it and get it to the finish line. So anything pre-sales, solution engineer, solution consultant, all of those good things. Yeah.
Okay, got you. And so also too, like, when you're doing this role, like, what are some of the platforms you're using to do this role, or tools or softwares? What are you using for this role?
Honestly, that is I'm also gonna say that it varies, right? So my expertise is in CCaaS. That's the acronym for Contact Center as a Service. This role is in all fields and facets, right? Like, it's in fintech, it's in all types of different umbrellas. But for me in the CCAS space, I worked with a lot of telephony providers, so like telephone providers, Twilio. Of course, a lot of people would use our platform to integrate with other systems. So that was also something that I had to become familiar with. So like Microsoft, all of the Microsoft platforms integrated with our platform, but Microsoft Teams was something that most people typically had. Salesforce, of course. A lot of people have Salesforce as well. But yeah, there are a lot of different things. Our platform was something that was called, it worked with open APIs, and APIs essentially are just connectors to other systems. So you could essentially connect with any other system that business needed. Whether it was directly with us, we may have had a pre-built connector, or you just had to get your hands dirty. But we did a lot of working in the cloud. The platform that I worked with was a cloud platform, so I was certified in AWS.
For real?
Cloud. Yeah, so yeah, we had a lot of cloud AWS certifications. Worked with all of the bots, so Amazon Lex bot, Google's bot, Dialogflow. We had our own bot. Again, just working with different platforms like ServiceNow. That's a ticketing system that a lot of companies use when they're tracking different things for their customers. Yeah, it was a lot of different platforms that we work with. HubSpot, like it's most things that people work with. We work with a lot of EHR systems. For our healthcare vertical, we had an insurance vertical, so we had to integrate with insurance systems as well. Because one thing that I would say about contact center is that it's the nucleus to most businesses, right? Most businesses are answering phone calls. Most businesses are answering emails. Most businesses that in these days, hopefully good businesses, have ways for you to connect with them, whether it's via text, whether it's via chat, whether it is a form on their website. And contact center software handles all of those types of interactions, and they get them to your agents. So most businesses that you interact with have a contact center, and their agents are on a contact center platform. That's how they're getting your calls. That's how they're looking up your information. So essentially saying it's so many systems.
Now, so basically you saying it's an infinity, so you can lose anything. So that's what I got. And I'm like, I can't stop counting after, like, when you said like 4 of them. I was like, okay, yeah, you don't got no more. So
I went deep, but yeah.
I love it. So what are some of the, because like certain roles are not for certain people. Obviously, throughout your career, you're a people person. I think are you extrovert?
Yeah, I'm extroverted. Yeah.
So you're extroverted people person. So what type of person can fit and do this role? Because I know this is probably not for me. I'm more of a chill type, quiet guy. I like to watch from afar, chill, and do my own thing. Who is this for?
So what's the crazy part? I feel like I'm more of an anomaly, to be honest. I'm more of an anomaly. The way that I look, my personality, the way that I am, honestly, there aren't a lot of people like me. I feel like a lot of people that are in the role are introverted. They are also level. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They are people who really love to learn. They are technology people. You get what I'm saying? I just can talk. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like for me, that is my superpower. Like, I feel like in this role, my personality is my superpower, because most people are very technical, right? They are white and black. They are gray. Sometimes they can only explain things in terms that everyone does not understand. They're very, you know what I'm saying, matter of fact, to the point where I'm totally different. So I would honestly say I feel like it's a role for anybody who likes to learn, who is up for a challenge, and that understands that you are going to be continuously chasing technology. But that's the best part about it, right? Because you stay in step with where the world is going. You know what is happening. So just taking a step back to when I did start this role, again, I started at a junior level. I was an associate, and we went through a 6-month training so that we could learn the technology. I was so grateful for that because we didn't have to come in and know anything or know everything, because this stuff is learnable and you can teach yourself or be taught these things. And of course, you can go through certifications and you can learn from whatever company that you're looking towards. Everybody has certifications for you to get shored up on their product. Yeah, they want people to learn their product because they want people to buy their product, right? But cloud boomed during that time. So I was there for 6 months. And when we graduated from our program in March of 2020, the next week we had to go home. And when we had to go home, everybody in the world had to go home, which meant everybody had to go to the cloud. There was not a conversation about the cloud prior to March of 2020. And I'm not saying there wasn't, but I'm saying nobody was saying cloud but Apple, iCloud. That was the only cloud that we knew at the time. And all of these businesses, like I said, all businesses have contact centers. They had to go home. And at that time, most businesses were on premise-based systems. Hospitals, they're on premise-based systems, which means they have hardware, which means you have to go into the office to access this hardware to do your job. And now you cannot do that. You have to go home. And when the cloud boomed, it was like, wow, the world is changing, and we changed with the world. We saw all of these businesses send their employees home. We had to help them onboard, figure out how that worked, figure out how to lock their screens down, figure out how to get the latency right, what type of, you know what I'm saying, internet connections that they needed to be able to talk to the customers, how to, you know what I'm saying, like get them acclimated to the systems and being at home, because not only did they have to go home and work, they had to go home and work on a new system. And they maybe 20 years working on the same system. So again, I just felt like with this role, you get to see the world changing, you get to see businesses changing, you get to see what's coming next in the future. And cloud was really one of those things. Cloud was one of those things. And I mean, and AI as well. I feel like when I talk to people now, I'm like, I feel like I grew up with AI because, of course, now it is where it is today. But we have been seeing different iterations through bots. We've been seeing different iterations through things that we could do with our software and our platforms. And now it's, you know what I'm saying, it's a major thing and it's in everybody's face and it's a buzzword, but it's been around for sure.
Yeah, because even with me, I've been in, cybersecurity. I've been knowing about the cloud for years, since I was in college. Again, once everything went home, everybody had to adapt to it. So I 100% understand with that. And then too, when this conversation, I've been realizing you're highly technical. Like you're probably more technical than me, to be honest with you. I don't know that.
Yeah, I'm really technical. Yeah, and it's funny because again, like you probably would see me, you wouldn't even think that. And I forget sometimes, but again, I feel like the way that I speak to people or the way that I even talk towards the technology, it's not, for me, it's not technical. You know what I'm saying? Because I love to find ways to help people understand complex things. But again, when we're talking about most people that are in the role, they are technical people. So they gonna talk above your head all the time. So that's what I'm saying. I don't feel like I am the typical solution consultant because my personality is different. A lot of the people that are in this role are very, again, sure, matter of fact, technical, white and black, you know what I'm saying, facts or fiction type people. And I feel like for me, I am a vivid storyteller. So I always want to be able to help you imagine what this technology can do or is doing.
Okay. Yeah, because that's why I like talking to you, because I'm more technical, introverted. But when I talk to you, I just get mesmerized because I sometimes just be like listening to the story. Sometimes even when I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing this podcast now, I'm never listening. I'm like, this is interesting. Oh yeah, I forgot I'm the host. You know what I'm saying? I'm the host, so I gotta cap back in. Okay, so for this role, how do you deal with, because it's, and then back to the technical people. Sometimes with those technical people, they so technical. Sometimes they, like you said, they try to talk like you don't, like they try to basically get them off of them by saying certain things. And I'm like, bro, get out of my face. I know what you're talking about. You ain't talking about nothing. You know what I'm saying? Literally. You literally ain't talking about nothing. But let's go back to the role. So for this role, do you like, how do you deal with difficult questions or difficult people or complex situations? How would you do that?
So I would say dealing with difficult questions, I would put it, I would say I typically take a two-pronged approach, right? So my first line of defense is I'm going to research everything. I think that's probably one of the things that you just cannot get around in a job. You're never going to know everything. You're never going to know everything. You're never going to have, I think the initial thing for me, even with those complex questions, is setting expectations like, hey, this is a big ask. So it might take me a little bit of time to get this answer, but I am going to work to get the answer. So like trying to say, and that's something I had to learn, right? You be trying to be Superman or not saying anything. Like the best approach is to speak first, over, like under promise and over deliver, right? I would say like, this is a tough ask. I'm going to have to figure this out. I might get back to you on Friday. You get what I'm saying? They might not like that. They might push back, but at the end of the day, you already told them that it's going to take some time, and then you kind of hustle, you research, you put your feelers out. I feel like in this role, this is not a siloed position. I don't think anybody should go into any role and be siloed. I think community is always going to be the best answer because, again, everybody's in different levels of their career, and also people have seen different things, right? So it's like, I might have been here for 5 years and I feel like I've seen so many things, but somebody could have been here for 3 months and they ran into this issue. You know what I'm saying? Because now this might be a new thing that's coming about, or a new customer ask, or a similar customer. So going into your community and seeing if there's anyone that can assist, or somebody has seen this, seen something close to it. I always think that that's the best, like researching and community and bringing in the SME, networking, building those relationships. I think those are the best ways to kind of help with those tough conversations, right? I might not know, but I might bring somebody on that does know, or their chops is a little bit higher than mine, and they can have that, level to level conversation, because there are times that I get in conversations with different customers and they bring somebody on that's literally been working on the same product or the same thing for 25 years, and they have all of these questions that kind of backdate when I even got in this industry. You know what I'm saying? Like backdates when I even started. I'm like, it's pre-cloud. I don't know what's going on. So you know what I'm saying? I would bring somebody else on that maybe can speak that language with them. You know what I'm saying? And most people are okay as long as they get their questions answered. So I would say that it's always gonna be conflict resolution. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like just every level of life that you get into, whether it's personal or professional, like you have to continue to work that skill. I don't think that that's anything that you ever master, to be honest, just because life just keeps throwing new things at you, new challenges at you. So you just have to honestly rely on your support system to help you to resolve those conflicts. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? You don't always know how to do it, and you don't always have to do it in the moment. Like sometimes you have to take a step back and be like, all right, how do I want to approach this? You know what I'm saying? Like this person was talking to me crazy. How do I want to approach this? You know what I'm saying? Like what effort or what energy did I want to, when you kind of get a little bit of, you seek counsel, on those things, and, try to figure out what the best approach is. But it's a way for you to challenge yourself to keep growing that skill within yourself, because every level of life, you can try to stay complacent as long as you can or whatever, but there is going to be a challenge that comes, because somebody's not going to like that you're complacent. So now you're going to have to fight them about that. Or somebody that's not going to like that you like to stay under the radar. Like, you're going to have to fight them about that. So it's like, just seeking counsel and just continuing to perfect the craft of having those uncomfortable conversations, trying to be poised, respectful, and professional, to be honest. And it's like, it's so many ways to be professional and say what you got to say. Stand on business. You can stand on business.
Yes, you gotta stand on business sometimes. And I love the two things that you said. You got to do research. You're not going to know anything, and say what you're allowed to say, because the minute you say something, you both know. Once you say it, it's law.
I've done that. When I worked for child protection, bro, I learned so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, words really do mean things. And I mean,
Powerful.
I'm still learning. I am still learning. Like, I don't even want to sit on here and act like I got it figured out, because it's like every time you figure something else out, you be like, oh, I did 16 things wrong. And I'm probably doing this wrong right now. I'll figure that out in 2 years. But like, your word is everything. So if you can be as sure and as honest in your word as you can, you get what I'm saying? Like, I think that goes further, and people just have no choice but to respect that. Like I said, it's like, it might be Monday and I'm like, hey, I'm not going to be able to get an answer back to you until Friday. And that might not make somebody happy. But when I hit them up on Wednesday, or when I hit them up on Thursday, they're going to be elated, because they already was frustrated with me and waiting for Friday to come. You know what I'm saying? But I've definitely done that. I'm going to get it to you by the end of the day. And the thing about, the role that I'm in, and just like we all have different bottlenecks, right? We all have different layers of an organization. We all have different people that we have to talk to, and everyone has their own priorities. So just because right now this is my priority to get this information to my customer or to my sales rep or to whoever is asking me, doesn't mean that it's the product manager's priority or my VP's priority to get an answer. You get what I'm saying? They have their own priorities too. So you can't, I know sometimes we want to be the superhero and get things done right away and give them all the answers right away, but you can't always do that. So it definitely, I would say, a rule of thumb is to build you in a buffer, because you don't know when you get off that call what fire is coming next, right? And you have to deprioritize that, because it's really you get what I'm saying, like a whatever ask, and you have a real thing that you have to deal with. And now you got to manage this new stressor, and then this other thing becomes a stressor because you put pressure on yourself to give something to them right away. So I will always say build in a buffer.
No, I understand. Like, even I'm gonna take that for myself, because I've been getting more and more into business and other stuff. So sometimes I'll be like, hey, I'll let you know today, or I'll to the calendar today. But the minute I get off the call, something happened, and then I accidentally forget. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna just be like, oh, just give me. I'll do it by Wednesday. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna be like, I'll do it by Wednesday. I'm gonna do it by
because
this.
the next day is when it's gonna pop back in your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that I don't think we understand how distracted we are. I don't think we understand how many ways our minds are being pulled in different directions on a consistent basis, just like how we're having this conversation right now, right? And you could say, okay, I'm going to do this as soon as we get off this call. The first thing you're going to do when you get off this call is pick your phone up. And you're going to respond to everybody that was trying to pull at you while you was away doing this. And that in turn is like, oh, now I'm hungry, or now I forgot I got to run and do this errand. And I might be sitting on the other side like, you supposed to be sending me the link. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so building in that extra time for yourself. And honestly, too, I would recommend, just if you can build in some time during your day or during your week where you just only focus on administrative tasks. That was something that I struggle with, but am still trying to master, because that is so important. when you jumping from call to call and you making promise after promise after promise after promise, when are you actually going to
do it?
Make those things happen. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes we get into those weeks where it's like, I gotta call at 11, I gotta call at 12:15, I gotta call at 1:30, and then you gotta do prep, or you gotta eat, or you gotta do this, and then by the time you get off work, like, you might be tired, or you have other things, or you're traveling, or if you're out of town, you know what I'm saying, you're away from your computer. So trying to build those times into your week, so that you can consistently follow up on that type of stuff. Oh, I need to send this calendar invite. You know what I'm saying? You hop on 30 minutes early during the day, or you know what I'm saying, starting your day. But that was something that I am trying to continuously master. But it's one of those things that's really, it's a non-negotiable. You know what I'm saying? And doing that follow-up is honestly, that's probably like, I want to say 60 to 70% of your success with a lot of things is the follow up and the follow through. You know what I'm saying? That initial conversation and all those, yeah. But it's like the second step, after we talk today, I actually made the invite for our next conversation, because that's going to keep the ball rolling. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of things fall through the cracks. So I would definitely say that's something else to consider.
Yeah, because I would say the follow up, because like even like one of my people, I view him as a mentor on Textual Chatter, Henry Davis. I pay attention to him. I got connected to him for like over a year, and we've been talking, texting for a long time. And it's just follow up. Hey, I want to come on. Can I come on the pod? Can I do this? Can I do it? And just following up with him, you know. And even in guests in general, like that's how I have made the most success. Just following. It don't have to be that time. Like even with us, we didn't do the podcast now. It's been like time passed, but eventually, you know, you want to come on, you know what I'm saying? Or we found a way to do it. So
yeah, we found a way. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about, what is some of the compensation you can get for this position? Like what is it, like 50, like kind of grade levels, like mid-level, top level? Can you make some good money? Just, you don't have to say exact number, just give the ranges.
Okay, yeah. So you can definitely make some good money. It's a comp plan. Obviously, it's still kind of in the sales realm. So a lot of the times it's like a 70% base, 30% commission split. And it just depends on the company. I would say entry level, I would say you could be around 80 to maybe like 110, just depending on the company. I would say 80 to 100K entry level ish. I don't know. Honestly, the times have changed. Mid, I would say that's when you kind of get into ones to twos. And then once you get to that senior level, it's like 2 and above for sure. Like,
so you can make some money, and like you said, yesterday's price is not today's price. So
yesterday's price is not today's price. I mean, when I be seeing what people be coming in at, I'm like, oh, okay, it's nice for y'all. I had to go through the trenches. I had to go through the trenches. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's a field that's ever growing. I feel like it's one of those roles that you can pivot into sales if you want to, because you do kind of have that technical background and you have been riding alongside sales reps. So you can kind of, you know, pull their ear, get more information, and you'll be like, I don't know. I feel like you could be like a double-edged sword, right? Because you know technology, you can talk to technology, but you can also sell it. You can go into different like product management roles. Like you could go into technical roles if you want to be in technical roles, or if you wanted to explore something non-technical, like a program manager, or you could be a technical program manager, which is kind of like I feel like it's like a dual role that helps you to leverage, you know, sales as well as your technical acumen. So I feel like it's one of the positions that's a little overlooked and underrated, but I'm okay with that because it is still oversaturated. A lot of people do work in the field, but a lot of people don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? Know about the specific role. and it's not one of those buzz roles, right? So
Okay.
everybody's looking to make the big bucks, but I think that the most important thing is to find what works for you and find what you're passionate about and grow it. You know what I'm saying? If you grow something, you're going to get everything you want. And that's what I would say about this. I did not know what I was going in for, but God had a plan for me, and it was something that aligned with me and how I like to learn and my personality and all those good things. So I grew it, and it's growing, and
Love it.
the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for sure. But I just want people to stop going in with the I gotta make six figures mentality, and actually go in with, this is something that I could see myself doing, or I want to try to see how I fit into this role. Because you can make six figures and be miserable. You can make six figures and get laid off. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the most important thing is to find, something that aligns with your passion, try it out, and just grow from there.
Yeah, I love that. The last thing I would ask, just to kind of close, we're going to slowly close off on this topic, but is there any certification that will help somebody get this role? Just name a couple of them,
Yeah, I would just say any type of cloud certification. So AWS cloud is a really big cloud. A lot of companies, a lot of platforms um, run their software in the AWS cloud, Google Cloud, Azure, Microsoft Cloud. Doing any of the certifications for companies like that would help. Any AI certifications that you can get. Again, AI is booming, it's buzzing, or whatever company that you are setting your horizon on, I would look into their certifications, right? Like I would go down a singular path. I would find what I'm looking to do, and I would go down that path. So if it's Microsoft certifications, you might not land a Microsoft role initially, but you will work for companies that are using Microsoft, and you would essentially build your skills in Microsoft so that once you get down the road to your ultimate destination, you got a lot of experience with their product.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we're going to transition, and this is what some of the topics I wanted to talk about too, like life after work. Can you explain, like, once you get a corporate role, like talk about some of the things that the audience needs to know, like how you should dress, how you should talk, how to network. Can you kind of go into a little in depth on that to kind of so the audience can understand that? Because a lot of times, for my audience, it's their first time getting a corporate America job.
Okay. Well, welcome to corporate America. This is the new look. This is the new hood. This is the new
Yeah.
hood that you guys are entering in. So I will start with tips on how to dress. I've been in a professional role my entire career. Even though I work for child protection, we always had to dress business casual. So I would always say for my ladies, like, you always need to cover up. You know what I'm saying? Like, less is more. That is the rule of thumb. Like, for my men, I feel like a collar shirt, even if it's just a polo, is always just a great way to go. I will say in tech, it's a little more laxed depending on the company that you work for. So when I first started working for my first tech company, I was like, oh, we can wear jeans to work. Like, how cool is that? You know what I'm saying? But I think that it is always key to look professional, even if you're being lax, because people are they judging you on your appearance. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to come in a suit, because that was inappropriate for tech in my community, or in the company that I work for. It was like, why you got a suit on? You ain't a sales rep. You know what I'm saying? Or
Well,
like,
you
you're
get
not
another
the
job.
CEO.
You always
But
hit you.
yeah,
You get another job. You got an interview.
yeah, but like, business up top and party at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? So like, a nice polo or a nice shirt up top and some jeans. And for me, I am a sneaker person, and I love, love, love the fact that that is is so on trend for us in corporate America. So I love a nice shirt, some slacks, and some sneakers. Like, as long as I can kind of bring my personal style into my job, I'm always going to be happy. So that's what I also would say. Bring your personal style in, right? You don't have to dress completely like somebody different. Bring your personal style in, but just make sure that you have a layer of professional. You know what I'm saying? Like you always want to show up as your best self. And then I would say, don't be drinking. You know what I'm saying? A lot at work, right? So we all have families, we all have friends, we all have communities that we can have a lit time with, right? When you first get into a position, there are going to be a lot of things that are going to be offered to you, right? Like there's going to be happy hours and open bars and all of these different things that you can indulge in, but just do it with intentionality. Maybe one drink and then the next one ginger ale, you know what I'm saying? So that everybody else still thinks that you're drinking, or two drinks. So you know what I'm saying? Always set a limit for yourself, and always be cognizant of who is in the room and what, you know, what's at stake. I have been at companies where people have came to our company functions and have gotten a little too inebriated, and then in the next week they don't have a job. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's never that deep. They sell liquor everywhere, so you can get that lit on your own time and on your own dime, but don't do it at work. I would definitely say that. And build relationships, but also have boundaries. I think boundaries are really important when building these professional relationships, because you want them to remain professional. And you know, we all have our quirks, we all have our things, we all have our, you know, vices and other things. And it's just like, sometimes less is more. You know what I'm saying? You can find common ground with people, but they don't have to know everything about you, especially, you know, the unsavory parts or the things that you do. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of ways to build commonality. It's a lot of ways to build connection. It does not have to be with getting, you know, blackout drunk with them to build that connection, or telling them, you know, your deepest, darkest secrets, or, you know, your flaws and things like that. So I would definitely say network with boundaries. You know what I'm saying? As much as you can. And obviously there will always be people that turn into family. There'll always be people that, you know what I'm saying, go a layer below. But initially, you know, keep your boundaries intact. You know what I'm saying? Keep your conversations above the board and vet people out. You know what I'm saying? For sure.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying, because a lot of times I've seen people, you know, get in relationships with coworkers, drink with coworkers, tell them everything. But you got to understand, at the end of the day, and a lot of new people don't understand this, they're not your friends, they're your coworkers. Because at the end of the day, they will fire you and they will never talk to you again. I've been there. I've been fired from a job. Well, not fired. Just I had to let go for certain reasons. And then they'll hit you up for that day just to be kind of nosy. And then after that, they'll just stop talking to you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, or if you're doing anything with a colleague in a professional way, you know, dating, whatever, they're going to tell you, they're going to tell everybody. If you get colleagues looking at you crazy, or, you know, a lot of people want to talk to you more and more, it's for a reason. You know, even for dressing professionally, like a lot of people of other races, they're not going to tell you straight up to say, hey, you may want to, you know, fix up. But they'll keep it noted, like, okay, he dressed a little crazy. That's why even with me, I got a dress shirt on right now, because you never know who's watching.
And that's what I'm saying. I feel like for me, I have like, you have to have work clothes. You know what I'm saying? You have to have work clothes. The way that I like to dress on my weekends is not the way that I dress when I go to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of want to be, again, you want to be professional. You want to present yourself as professional as possible, because you also want people to take you serious, right? And if you're taking your appearance serious, if you are, you know what I'm saying, making sure that you're not wrinkled. For my younger people that don't like irons, you know what I'm saying? You're making sure that your blouse, you know, you have things that are up the nape and not too revealing, or your pants is tight, your shirt is loose, you know, just different things like that, or wearing blazers, or, you know, things that just bring a little bit of elevation to your look. I think those are things that are going to stand out in a positive way to people, versus if you just showing up and throwing up and you just looking however you want to. Because again, in my industry, that was something that people could actually do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could come with you could come with a t-shirt and some jeans on. You know what I'm saying? Like, no shade to the developers, but developers, they're not customer facing. So a lot of times they come to work how they come to work. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, obviously we know that they're the brains of the operation. But again, it's just like first impressions mean a lot. And especially when you're new, you just want to make good impressions. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but I
No, I'll take
definitely
with a grain of salt. This is great information.
yeah.
Again, I wish I knew this, but I always knew not the date code works. That's the main one. I knew you always have to dress, because even with me, at one point I started to trim down my dressing, like I wasn't dressing up as much. And I noticed when I dress up more, the same people that wouldn't talk to me would talk to me. Like, maybe a chief might talk to me or say good morning or say this or come talk to me, or you build better rapport. So how you dress is, even in real life, how you dress is how you attract people. You go to a networking event. I just walk up to certain people just because they dress nice. I'm like, oh, you a speaker? No, I'm not a speaker.
Yeah. I mean, I get that all the time. I'm somebody who will wear an all orange suit, right? And I have had that. I was a speaker when I wore my all orange suit, but people walked up to me and they was just like, oh my God, I love your outfit. Like, I knew that you were powerful just because you got on like an orange power suit. I just wanted to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? So those things really do make a difference. So I definitely think it's worth its weight in gold, even if you don't see the benefits right away. It's always worth its weight in gold to put effort into your appearance and dress up, because again, it makes people take you serious. If somebody see you dressing up every single day, they may not even know what you do, and they're gonna be like, who is this person? You get what I'm saying? Because they're gonna assume that you're important, or they're gonna assume that you're good at your job, or that you are a top performer, because you literally wake up every day and put effort into your appearance. So they're gonna assume like, he gotta be doing a great job, or like, what does this person do? Like, I want to get to know who this person is just based off of that.
No, I agree. Also, let's talk about just a little bit. Always, like, when you're getting these high roles, also budget. Like, you're getting a lot of money. I know a lot of people. It's not wrong going on vacation, spending it, but you just always got to budget that money too, because what we're going on in the economy, like, the layoffs can happen anytime. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I'm trying to save more and more myself. I'm not the best, but I'm trying to get better with that too.
I feel like we all could, in this day and age, we all could take a class in financial literacy. Like how we was saying they should have been doing it in school, they should just be doing that right now for adults. And not saying that there aren't programs or there aren't resources and things that are available, but I'm saying just like actively how we getting online every day and logging into Instagram, everybody needs to be logging into some, you know what I'm saying, some type of financial literacy courses on a daily too, or you know what I'm saying, checking. So I honestly feel like those old school rules that they may or may not have taught you about, when you get a raise, you need to put more in your 401k. You know what I'm saying? When you start making more money, you need to save more money. And honestly, if we be in a thou wow, ChatGPT can get you together. If you tell ChatGPT how much money you make, how much your bills are, hey, I want to create a budget, I want to have some money to be able to spend to do this and this and this, I think that those things are good. I feel like saving is amazing, but I feel like investing is better. I would say that because I am a person right now that is laid off, and I am living off of my savings, and I am living off of my investments. And me being laid off looks a lot different from a lot of other people that I have seen laid off, right? Because I did invest in different ways and in different pots, and I have different pots of things that were already working for me. So now that I actually need them, it's not as stressful because they were already in the works, right? I mean, this economy is crazy. So the investments definitely have taken a plunge, but up until 2 weeks ago, you know what I'm saying, it was amazing. You know what I'm saying? Immaculate. So I definitely would say like budgeting is important, savings important, but investing, honestly, that's a lot more important as well, because depending on whether or not you have short-term or long-term or passive or other types of investments. Those things are going to be lasting, and your cash is liquid and it stays in one place waiting for you, whereas your investments are running while you are out doing other things and it's growing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because for you, like you've been laid off for a year, so that's why I wanted to touch on that a little bit. So you've been literally been still having a good time. You know what I'm saying? From what I've seen. So,
Yeah.
and still been paying your bills and still taking care of everything. So I respect what you're doing in that instance. I did have, so we're going to start closing things out now. Do you mind, where can the audience find you?
So thanks for asking. Of course, they can find me on LinkedIn, DeAndrea Brown, MBA. I told you I got my MBA, but
Love it.
I am also, they can find me on Instagram. I might drop the Instagram. I also do a lot of content creation on there. As we said, I have a lot of free time right now, so I've been pursuing a few of my passions. But one of my latest passions that you have also helped me to uncover and to start brewing is I am starting a series. I want to call it a podcast. I want to call it a series where I kind of talk to different people of all different backgrounds. So it's not just going to be tech based, it's going to be from all different backgrounds, about mentorship, about leadership, about these conversations and information that, we don't often get, and we don't always explicitly learn and know. It's going to be called the coffee chat because it's going to be us talking and having just informal conversations over coffee. And I'm going to be talking initially to what I call as my board of directors. So these are all of the different mentors that I have in my life that help me to make decisions, whether it's financial, whether it's career, whether it's podcast, whether it's content, all of those different things. And I want to get as much information from them as I can to share with the audience. So I will be dropping a YouTube. I'll send you the link. I'm gonna have a YouTube. I'm gonna have a website as well where people can go and find all things me, all things the Coffee Chat podcast, and they can follow the journey to get more conversations like this, more information, and hear what leaders want, hear what people in corporate America think, hear what entrepreneurs think, hear what, Black leaders are doing and how they can become, the next big thing in whatever they're trying to do.
I love it. And make sure the audience, y'all check her out. She's very educated in what she does, very well spoken, and she's going to keep it real about corporate life, her life, and how to navigate whatever space you're trying to go on. So just make sure you check her out and just, check out what she's doing. Check out the coffee chat, check out her LinkedIn, and just follow up with her over time. And last thing I wanted to ask, what is one last thing you want to leave the audience with? It could be a quote, it could be a statement, it could be a sentence. What's one thing you want to leave the audience with?
Oh man. Um, Always pursue you. I want to say that's like what's most important, like a role, a title. None of those things are going to bring you fulfillment. Always pursue you, always pursue your talents, always pursue your passions, and never forget your purpose. If you don't know your purpose, pursue you until you find it. That's what I
I
would
love
say.
it. I love it. That's a good quote. Always pursue you. Make sure you always pursue you, audience. Do you. And with that, thank you, DeAndrea, for coming on the
Yes.
podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. We're gonna close things out. So for everybody that's watching the podcast, make sure you like the video, comment down below. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Also check out the techwokepodcast.com, subscribe to the newsletter, and also get some of the Tech Woke merch to help support the channel and keep it going for a long time to provide this great information. And remember, everybody, get 1% better every day. Peace out, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.
Bye.